Hi. Hi. My name's Bruce. Hey, listen, if you've been watching these videos and you find them at all decent, please, hit that like button and hit the subscribe. Apparently, if you're making videos for YouTube, you're supposed to say that. I'm gonna try my best. Well, kind of try my best. I realize that in the broad spectrum of things, these are passing fair, which means kind of good enough. All right, so I'm gonna get at it. Oh, if you know me and you've been watching, you know that I like to talk about a thing. I like to talk about people, and I like to talk about ideas. And ideas tend to be a little bit related to economics, but it's kind of like an everyday version of economics, or let's be happy version of economics. Okay, and so today, the people, the person that I'm going to talk about is, here, I'm going to get up Mr. Chalkboard here. The person I'm going to talk about here. This guy, you recognize that name? Don Cherry. Okay, and then the thing I'm going to talk about is nice. Okay, there's two words that are in the English language. I think they exist in a lot of languages. One of those words is nice. Now, a long time ago, I was in Guatemala City, and I was with a girl, not in she just happened to be a traveling companion. Her name was Carol, and she spoke a lot of languages. Well, not a lot, but she spoke Spanish, which is a good one to have if you happen to be in Guatemala City. She was also good for English, French, and German, which comes in handy because I was at the time my languages were pretty restricted to English. So Carol says to me, "What is the opposite of nice?" Okay, well, if you enjoy language and you're me, my response to what is the opposite of nice was, well, there's hundreds of opposites of nice. And Carol, being the kind of person she was looking for one answer. Like, what is the opposite of nice? Down is the opposite of up. Left is the opposite of right, in a way. But what's the opposite of nice? Well, nice. Another thing to talk about is kindness. So I'm going to talk about is the difference between niceness and kindness. I'm going to talk about a guy that I know. That guy there, Don Cherry. Okay? Now, if you're Canadian or if you're American or if you're a sports fan, especially if you're a hockey fan, you know who Don Cherry is. You know a little bit about him, maybe, and you know some of the saga. But Don Cherry is there's a song I've been listening to. It's called Chalk Bingo, and it's about it gets introduced by the singer. The singer's name's James McMurtry, and it gets introduced in concert sometimes as a saga about the North Texas or West Texas, Southern Oklahoma, South Arkansas crystal methamphetamine industry. And the protagonist of the song is kind of as a guy named Uncle Slayton, and is described in the song as getting on in years. So anyway, so Don Cherry, getting on in years. And he used to be a coach. Don and I have something in common, is that we both admired Bobby Orr. And he asked Don what was his favorite moment in hockey. I asked him this. Don, what's your favorite moment in hockey? Don says, coaching Bobby Orr. Don, who's your favorite player? Bobby Orr. Don, who's your favorite human being? Bobby Orr. So, Bobby Orr. And Bobby Orr is arguably the greatest hockey player that ever lived in the Western world. Okay, so Don Cherry, Bobby Orr, niceness, kindness. Now, you may know the thing about Don. He was a commentator. He had a thing called Coach's Corner on Hockey Night in Canada with his pal Ron MacLean. And occasionally Don would get himself in a bit of hot water trouble because he would say something that was not necessarily in keeping with the things we should be saying or not saying these days. And that's it's important to be mindful that, like I talk about criteria, that criteria changes, and the things that we would say and do 80 years ago, 100 years ago, 25 years ago are different from things we say and do today. So you could make the argument that some of the things that Don said were not nice. He didn't say some nice things. He didn't say nice things about some people. And even he used the phrase, you people, which is, no, don't use that. But remember, Don's getting on in years, and anybody that has a grandparent or an older parent or whatever, sometimes they say things that are a little bit cringy. In fact, there's a guy that I do greatly admire. Perhaps I'll talk about him later. His name's George Cohan, and I've read his book a few times. It's called To Russia with Fries. And if you read it, I read it 30 years ago. I read it recently, and I have a different lens on it now that I had 30 years ago, but I still admire George Cohan, and there you go. But the point is that things change, people change, criteria changes, the things that you can and cannot do change. Okay, so Don Cherry, he would say some things that were not what we would call nice. Moving on to kindness. Okay, I know Don. I've met him couple occasions, but I spent a good bit of time with him. Now, you may know something about me is that I've had a few careers in my life. Okay, what do I call a career? A career is when you embark on an activity and you gain proficiency and recognition in that activity, that people that are in it will accept you as an expert, and they will respect your skills and your viewpoint and your opinion, and they will trust you to achieve outcomes. Okay, so I've had a few of those. One of them is I worked as a photographer. And you may or may not know this. Why? Because I love it. It's great. Mostly it's because it gave me an entree, an excuse to meet people. That's my thing. I like to meet people. You might get it from watching these videos. I don't know. My name's Bruce, by the way. This is my channel. Please subscribe. I like it when people do that. It makes me feel good. Okay. Kindness, niceness. Okay. So there's a few comedians talk about this, but Don Cherry, niceness. I said he would say some things that people wouldn't think were nice, but lots of people he would say lots of things that were nice too. But let's talk about kindness. Okay. Don Cherry was married for a long time. Don Cherry had a difficult career. He moved a lot. I don't know. It's like he moved like 30 times in 20 years, or that's a close enough number for discussion, but he moved a lot. And his wife's name was Rose Cherry, and she, by all accounts, was a absolutely lovely woman, and Don loves her to this day. Okay. Now, let's back it up a bit. Talk about someone else, my mother. Okay. My mother, when my grandmother was ill and, had a serious illness, and she was going to die. Okay, so my mom encountered some people that were the palliative care workers, Palliative Care Society, and so my mother had a very positive experience. Difficult circumstance, but she admired the work these people did. So then, at first opportunity that my mother had, she became a palliative care volunteer, and she was a palliative care volunteer for, I'm going to make up a number, because my mother doesn't talk about this stuff at all. My mother never says, look at all the good that I've done, I'm a good person, these are the reasons why. My mother does not do that, ever. Okay, but my mother was a palliative care worker, and she would assist people at really the most difficult times of their lives, and assist families in the most difficult times of their lives. She greatly admired this. Now, what does this have to do with Don Cherry? Okay, Don Cherry's wife died. Okay, that's, happens. He's older. So Don was cognizant of this palliative process. And Don was also, does now, he admires and loves children. He has, who doesn't? I mean, who can say with a straight face that, I think there's people that that don't, but let's leave it aside, okay? So Don Cherry, what he did was Don Cherry used his resource. What does that mean? Well, Don Cherry took all of his money. What does that mean? All of his money. Like, let's want to hear about people that have, are charitable, people that given away a portion of their assets, people that are incredibly wealthy, and say people are incredibly wealthy are giving away all their assets or plan to. Bill Gates, great guy, in my mind, no question, and there are others. But what did John Cherry was really not a wealthy guy, not by the big picture of wealth. Okay, so what Don Cherry did was he used his resource, and I'm trying to say that Don Cherry used, how much of his money did he use? All of it. And when he ran out of money, what did he do? He got more. When he didn't have any more money, what did he do? He begged for favors. He used every molecule of his being to do something. And what Don Cherry did was Don Cherry, remember I mentioned his wife, Don Cherry opened the Rose Cherry Home for Palliative Care for Children. Now, you want to talk about something that's heart-rendering, heartbreaking, whatever, is you have a child that has a significant terminal illness, and let's call this that terminal. It's not good. Don recognized this. He took every molecule of his being, and he created the Rose Cherry Palliative Care Center so that children could be cared for and their families accommodated in what is truly a time of need. You want to know? Okay, I'm going to divert a little bit here and talk for a second about McDonald's. George Cohan. You may know about McDonald's in Canada or McDonald's in North America, but there's the Ronald McDonald's Children's Charities, and one of their more known items is the Ronald McDonald House. And what that is it gives families of children who are being treated for significant illness and have to travel a distance and they're away from home. It gives their families a place to stay, and so that they don't have to worry about some financial aspects or some practical aspects of being with their child while their child is being treated in the hospital. Okay, so that's McDonald's, Don Cherry, the Rose Cherry Center for Palliative Care for Children. And you want to know what? This is an extreme example of kindness and niceness. You watch Don, if you appear on TV long enough or whatever, you're going to say some things that people are going to raise an eyebrow at. Okay, question. You talk to someone long enough, an older person comes from a different era, maybe they're part of them is still in that era. They're going to say things that are from that era and are not appropriate in today. Wow, geez, I can't believe. I have relatives that do the same thing. I do the same thing. I know I do. I try not to, but I do. Okay? But now let's talk about kindness. Kindness is what you do. Okay? When you see a need and you can help, you get out there and you help. Okay? Help. That's it. I'm gonna maybe stick with this theme for a few videos, but and that's it. This is what Don Cherry did. He built a hospital. The place is significantly large. I mean, it's not like 80 stories or something like that, but it was a big thing, and it existed. It absorbed all of Don's resources. And when I was going to visit Don at this hospital for the purpose of some photographs and spend some time with the guy, he knew I was coming and he wanted it to look good. So one thing he did was he phoned up Pat Quinn. Pat Quinn? Yeah, Mr. Pat Quinn. And Pat Quinn was the coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And he said, Pat, I got this thing. I got this guy coming. We got these rooms. We got these kids. We need it to look good. Can you help me? And Pat sent one of his guys out there. One of his guys. An NHL hockey player. Here with betting. Toronto Maple Leafs betting. There you go. So anyway, Don Cherry, he was all in on this. Kindness. That's it. Done. That's my story. Oh, actually, it ties back to economics and the role of the individual, the role of government, the role of the firm, okay? This story it's not over, but the role of government is to maximize the well-being of everyone in society, okay? Now, Don Cherry decided he's going to take this on a bit himself. He saw a need, he tried to do everything he could, and he did. That's it. But really, when you're voting, when you're considering, this idea that you want a power in government to govern our society, well, this is the job of government, okay, is to maximize the well-being of everyone. And everyone means not just the families that were fortunate enough to have this experience at the Don Cherry Center, the Rose Cherry Center at the time of need, but the big everyone, okay, absolutely everyone, for sure, and that's it. So it's kind of a double-edged sword of charitable giving, which is kind of an amelioration or an assuaging of some deficits in society. And so there's one thing that you can do is charitable giving, and that's great, and charitable acts, that's great, and be kind. But another way is to reflect on this idea of government, okay, and that the everybody of it all has to affect. So if you happen to be in Canada and your child is very ill, or you are very ill, or someone is very ill, the one thing that for sure you don't have to worry about is who's going to pay for this hospital stay. That's it. Okay, my name's Bruce. If you like the video, great. If you don't like the video, okay, hit the like button. If you don't like it, hit the like button. If you really want to do something, leave some comments. I enjoy comments. That's it. Okay, and I'm not getting sponsored. These are I think I have the least watched videos. I think I set a record for an absence of popularity, which is totally cool. Because that's if you go back a bunch of videos, there's a discussion. I talk about why I'm doing this, and there you have it. Okay, so thank you very much. If you've stuck with it this long, take it easy. Enjoy your day. Okay, bye now.